So I'd like to introduce Mr. Babcock.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I've been with the Post 35 years, and I got my eligibility in 91 at Desert Storm, and 92 I was nominated and elected as quartermaster, which I stayed at that office until 2023. I am now a trustee, Swamp Tree. The trustees, aside from just being old guys, we are tasked with kind of oversight and keeping everybody in line, if you know, and the rest of the officers and the Post in general, just kind of looking over everybody's shoulder and not being too nosy, but keep us going on the straight and level. So I'll start with back when before my time, of course, in July 29th, actually, of 1938, after a lot of communication with state and national offices, 16 local veterans, including, and I'll read them off here, Robert Kidd, Leon McPhee, Clarence Masters, George Ellsworth, Ray Corder, Roy Pidge, Irvin Stevens, Neil Ryan, Ralph Farmer, Charles Cogswell, Leslie Wallace, Joshua Jeremiah, James Marshall, Harry Hart, Ira Austin, and Glenn Smith officially opened the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 369 in Mexico, New York. Early meetings were held at members' homes and rooms rented from a Miss Fanny Thomas on Main Street. In 1945, the Post purchased its first home, at 3239 East Main, the former Universalist Church Society building, which is on the screen here. We stayed there up until about 2007. There's kind of a lot of repetition here. This is a kitchen we had in the old Post, literally the kitchen. And this was our flight of stairs. It was a disaster because nobody that was at any physical impairments could manage to get up to the rooms upstairs in the place. Another incentive to move to a new building. The Post was named for Herbert Edick of Palermo and Clarence Hanlick of New Haven, both veterans who were killed in World War I. And we are one of about 35 posts that comprise New York District 5. District 5 extends from Wacona to Hornell, if you know where Hornell is, down south of Rochester. It's a big district. In Post 369, of course, it promotes veterans programs, including the VA hospital, the VA National Home in Eaton Rapids, Michigan, and also supports national organizations, including the Red Cross, St. Jude Children's Hospital, Cancer Fund, Heart Fund, Costas Scouts, both boy and girl, Gold Star Mothers, Honor Flight, just to name some. Locally, we raise money for graduating senior scholarships, support dollars for scholars, Operation Reindeer, Mexico Marine Corps Junior ROTC, Little League ball teams, and adult softball teams, and find odd jobs for students who wait until the end of term and realize they still be 4 hours of community service. They're great. The Post supports national programs, Patriots, Fen, and Voice of Democracy. These are essay programs that can earn students a share of $2 million in scholarship money. This is for a 3-minute essay. The Patriots Pen part of it is for kids in the 6th through 8th grade, and theirs are written essays. The Voice of Democracy is the same idea, but for the high school kids, 9 through 12, and theirs is recorded, spoken and or recorded. We've had student winners at the New York State level as of a couple of years ago, and the details are open to all. And at bfwny.com, under programs and Patriots Pen /BOD, and it's important the entrants do not have to have any affiliation with the VFW. They can just turn in their essays to the Post by October 31st. And there's 3 levels of judging, the post and then the district, and that goes to state. If they make that state, actually there's a 4th to go to national. National winners worth $35,000. So, and there's money to be made along the way. So it's a good program. One of the kids that won claimed to have composed their essay on the bus ride to school one day. 3 minutes. It's less than a commercial break on TV or so. And as I said, there is money to be made. As I said, the information is available to anybody that wants it. It's on our state website. And there's 2 themes that you have to go by. One theme for the Patriots Bend and one theme for the Voice of Democracy. But it all has to do with Americanism and patriotic stuff. And the kids do their thing. So it's basically free just to their time. Also, for many years, we alternated with the American Legion sponsoring the Memorial Day Parade. The Legion kind of has faded away, and we continued to host the parade and included an open house with a free lunch at the post following the parade. We also offer open house with free lunch on Veterans Day. Anybody is welcome to come and check us out. We're always open to new members. The Post supplies flags and markers for veterans' graves in 8 local cemeteries: Academy Street, George Road, Spy Island, Wellwood, Tubbs Road, French Street, Mapleview, and Coloss. And we also provide funeral honors for deceased veterans. I was on one this morning. We had over on Mason Road. We did a service for a fellow that had passed away. And of course, we, as I said to the young lady earlier, we also accept flags all year long, damaged flags from Memorial Day. You can drop them at the post anytime throughout the year, and we'll dispose of them in the proper way in what we call our watch fire, which is usually the first part of June after Memorial Day, of course. And there's some pictures that will flash on the screen here. These pictures are when we started building our new post up on the Scenic Ave. Also, the post hosts an active Healing Waters program organized by John Profster. Disabled veterans meet and learn to tie fishing flies and then are treated to fishing outings to try out their creations. And there is no charge to participants. It's a very popular program. More information can be found at projecthealingwaters.org. It sounds like a commercial, right? Well, I'm proud of our post and what we do, so I take it with a great softer. And Career 69 has received over a dozen state awards and 4 very prestigious All-American Post Awards for national. A very special award in 2014-15 was out of over 400 posts in New York State. 369 was the only one to receive that All-American Award. In 2015-16, there were about 7,000 posts worldwide. 270 received the All-American Award, and Post 369 was one of the 270, which I think is amazing. In the 90s, the Post was growing in numbers and began to plan for enlargement. We had the property on Scenic Ave, about 5 acres, that we used for steak bakes and picnics, other functions. A discussion on a new building on the Scenic Ave property ensued. Meetings were held, ideas were suggested, tentative plans were drawn. The big problem, of course, was finance. The Post worked on fundraising with limited success. And to follow along to the winter of 2004, in February, there was 5 days of snow which collapsed our pole barn and destroyed tables and our kitchen equipment. You'll see some pictures there of the after the snow melted. It was a mess. And a sidebar to that was the picnic tables actually belonged to the fire department. We were allowed to use them in return for providing storage until firemen needed them for their field days. So primarily with volunteers, the pole barn was rebuilt. One day was just dedicated to just rebuilding picnic tables. And with the generosity of local suppliers and by providing our own labor, the money saved from the insurance claim was put toward the new building. At the same time frame, the father of one of our members, a member of the Cicero American Legion, invited us to see their new building. It was, and still is, amazing, well thought out for holding multiple functions. An architect was hired to draw plans based on the Legion design subsequently approved by our members. Finance was still an issue, so it was decided to have fundraisers and do as much as possible of the money on hand and then do more fundraisers. Excavation for the new post began May 5th, 2005. We again had great support from our suppliers and members. Even some non-members would show up to help days, weekends, even during winter. I took my grandkids up and moved piles of frozen lumber as needed to keep the construction going. Some folks had special skills: carpentries, electricians, masonry, plumbers, painters. All were welcome and all helped. We opened our new post December 1st of 2007. Pleased to mention that we had no mortgage and no outstanding bills. Free and clear. It was an amazing accomplishment, I'll tell you, for a little handler in Mexico. So in the spring of 2012, we acquired a little over 4 acres of land along our southern border, which, if you've been to our post before, you know we're on Scenic Ave in Mexico. It's also Route 3 North. We are the last village lot. The stone wall on our north side is the end of the village and beginning of the town. Anyways, we had a chance to buy these 4 acres on our southern border. So now we did, and we now have a little over 9 acres total. And that year we hosted a moving Vietnam Wall. If you've ever seen it, it's a tribute to those who served that era. Hundreds of people, vets and families of vets came, local and out of state. The venue was required to be manned 24 hours a day for the week it was scheduled there. Many volunteered, and it was noted that there were visitors throughout the nights as well as daytime. In 2015, we hosted a Vietnam Veterans Get-Together, the Saturday before Father's Day. This venue had been held by Post 5538 in Boonville for several years. We mailed around 900 invitations to the event. The vets came from around the area, and again, many came from other states. A tremendous response that we kept going until 2023, when we passed it to VFW Post 6530 in Camden, New York. And for a time, we were listed on Google's geocache site, thanks to the South Hannibal Baptist Church bell that was donated to us by Richard and Carol Hovey and is displayed in our front yard. Those not familiar with geocaching, it's like worldwide treasure hunt. Clues are provided as you travel and you search them out. Once found, you record the find, quote, and go on to the next on your list. And you can go all over the country, and as a matter of fact, I guess all over the world if you've ever been on that site. It's amazing. Our amazing and award-winning auxiliary was founded in 1940. They are, in many respects, the reason that Post 369 is successful. A standalone organization that enables the Post to conduct day-to-day operation and holds many activities of support of the Post, and makes frequent trips to Syracuse with personal items and clothing, some handmade, donated to patients and residents of the VA hospital. Our auxiliary hosts an annual car show that it usually has over 100 entries. Also is our strong partner in post functions like the Moving Vietnam Wall, our Vietnam Veterans Get-Together, our yearly fish dinners, Crazy Cash fundraiser. They hold very popular breakfasts, usually the first Sunday of the month, August 2nd, by the way, coming up. Another hint. An annual chili cook-off, and they oversee the banquet, community room, and pavilion, which are available for parties, celebrations of life, anniversaries, birthdays, weddings, school reunions, and are booked nearly a year in advance. Recently promoted, the veterans banners found displayed throughout the village. The Post is in its 88th year and has had 49 commanders and is currently about 276 members. And a lot of this information I thank John Castle for, who was our local historian, who put together a couple of a book, and I'll leave a couple of copies for you to peruse or put in your archives. They had some pictures of some of the former commanders and some other information in there. So if anybody has any questions about the post, I can try to answer them. We have a lot of things that we do, of course, and as I said before, we repeat a lot of things every year. We have the same donations for everybody. We have the same functions pretty much every year, so we try to come up with new stuff. We had a amazing fireworks display on the 5th of July just a week or so ago. And the turnout was, it's just unbelievable. We had cars parked up and down Route 3 and up and down Hamilton Street there by the car wash, and it was just jaw-dropping, the people that showed up for that fireworks display, and the fireworks display was pretty awesome too. But
Is this the first year you've done the fireworks?
pardon me?
Is this the first year you've done the fireworks?
Yeah, that was the first year. It was kind of in celebration of the 250th anniversary, which frankly, I was a little disappointed in. Usually around my house, I live in the village, and usually on the 4th of July, people are popping off all these fireworks most of the night, you know? And this year, there was like half a dozen little pops off in the distance, and that was it. So I guess not everybody is enthralled with our 250th year.
I mean, it was because you had such a good, we had such a good show yourself.
Well, as I said, we had it on the 5th the next day, and I was impressed with it myself. I'm not easily impressed. I was impressed with that. It was excellent.
I was lucky enough to go with my mother to when the Vietnam Wall was out there. Yes, she was.
And that quite a display.
You watched it go by the house.
Yeah.
Because she lives right on 104. We were sitting there waving and mom.
It was amazing. I don't recall exactly where it came from, of course, because a company that provides this, they have, I guess, like our old field days, you know, they had places they'd go to different towns, you know, all summer long. And they had a motorcycle escort, and then every fire department along the way had a flag up on their ladder truck, you know. And
We didn't know if he'd ever get to see it again, so we did make it out.
What year was that?
Oh, good Lord.
yeah, it was
Anyways.
it was amazing, and we had hundreds and hundreds of people show up.
So you've seen, they've been talking about Scriba VFW when it dissolved. Many of the members joined you.
You're right.
Does anybody know what year that was? When Scriba dissolved?
I can guess.
Okay.
2010s.
Okay.
I don't recall the exact year. I know, as I say, I used to enjoy the fish dinners you had over here, and it was I thought it was a very good operation. I know we had a family party there one time. My wife's brother had a birthday party there in the facility, and it was really nicely done, and then always seemed to have a good time there. I don't know what happened, did you? But it happens. We lost, well, as I said, we've got about 35 posts in the district now, and that's down from 47 or so just a short few years ago. It just,
Scriba one too, right? Scriba.
attrition has taken a lot of.
The post here in Scriba was nice enough to we have a Scriba Christmas project, and they took us under their umbrella, more or less, so that we could get a little bit of tax exempt and some of our stuff, our toys for the kids and stuff.
Yeah, our auxiliary does an awful lot like that too. We have this Christmas in Mexico thing that they put on. They don't say they put it on, that they participate in it. It's spread between the high school and the VFW. You know, they sell tables, I guess, to people for crafts and stuff. And
When this one shut down, I got a letter from the auxiliary saying, you know, if you wanted to, you know, move the membership or whatever to Mexico or whatever. So,
And other year you were going, we have a lot of men and women that can join, you know, when a post closes up. The members have a choice. They can become at large, which means that they don't have any post affiliation. They're still VFW members, but they're more or less members of the state VFW, not a particular post in a particular town. But they can apply for membership in Mexico or in Oswego or whatever, depending on where you want to be.
What are the parameters? I don't know what the right word is. Eligibility requirements, thank you.
Well, to every service person that has participated in a conflict, that is recorded as what they call a DD 214, which is a form that every service person gets when they get discharged. It gives a complete history, all one page. It's a complete history of what they've done and what medals they've earned and where they've served. And there is a chart list that National promotes that tells all of the things that they accept as eligible. And if you 214 that you provide has any of those items on it, then of course you are eligible and you can become a member of the post. That does not confine you to that post. You're still welcome to go visit other places, and we have a lot of people that are snowbirds is the thing is, and they belong to places down in Florida, the Carolinas, and they visit them in the wintertime and they come back here in the summertime, Why they come back, I wonder, perhaps. It is a challenge. But it is, again, it all depends on the requirements that National lays out, and if your individual paperwork confirms that you are qualified, and you can join. And we're welcome to have you because as I say, we've doubled our post in the years that I've been involved with it.
Don, is there a way you can find past members? I would like to know if a couple of my uncles belong to any posts. Is there a listing?
Well, we keep the applications from back into the 50s, I believe. If you provide a name, I could look up what I can with the help of our quartermaster, who has lock and key for the information, because nowadays there's a lot of sensitivity about personal information, so we keep everything locked up. But we do maintain a list of all of the applicants and former members, and even if they're deceased, many times we still have a piece of paper that tells when they were brought in.
Yes, and then all along the walls of the VFW are pictures of servicemen.
Yeah, and the banquet room, that was one of the nice things that they came up with and it's again, they're not all members of the VFW, but all those pictures are Mexico area folks, men and women, and men and served too. And they were given the chance to provide snapshots of their pictures of their families, and Edith Marsden, actually, the mother of our commander, was responsible for putting most of that together through the years. And they're amazing things, all the people go in there and just browse from lucky pictures on your wall there, and if you go around.
What's the difference between the VFW and the American Legion? I mean, I know they're two separate.
Well, the American Legion, the requirements are different. To my knowledge, and I'm not an expert on the Legion, but to my knowledge, the Legion just requires that you were a service member. You went into the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Coast Guard, and as far as I would imagine, you had an honorable separation. I don't know all the details, I should admit. But the VFW, it requires that you were in actual conflict. You were involved in some regards that way. Whereas you could have stood for a Legion membership, you could have served your tour of duty, so to speak, in Syracuse.
I see.
And this Veterans of Foreign War.
Right. Yeah. I started out in 1960 in the Air Force, active duty, and ended up on Long Island for 3.5 years, trying to make sure the Russians didn't bomb Montauk Point. We had a fire squadron down there that we kept. In those days, we had a 12-mile limit out over the end of the island, and it was said that the Russians had ships out there monitoring all of our communications, and this was 1961, 62. And of course, they would come over the 12-mile line, and somebody would say, oops, shouldn't do that. They'd scrapple our fighters. We had some on over 24-hour a day, and they'd run like you see in the movies, you know. They'd run, they'd jump into their planes, and they'd take off. The pilots loved it. They loved that kind of stuff. And of course, by the time they got to the 12 miles, the boats had backed up over the line, and they would eat. That was a kind of a day in my news that was played.
Oh, sure.
But I had a break in service for quite a few years. In '81, I was advised by one of my coworkers that there was a program at the 174 called in Syracuse called the Try One program, which means that you could sign up for 1 year. They'd give you a couple of uniforms, and then if you went to the meetings and if you liked it, then you can go. Usually it was a 6-year enlistment. Then they would sign you up for a year that, their next 6 years, and they would continue on. And if you didn't like it, you could quit. No harm, no foul, which was a nice thing to do. And I loved it. I loved working on the airplanes. We had A-10s in those days, which was a absolutely amazing airplane. And then get to travel. I mean, you could do your 2 weeks being a National Guardsman. You'd have a 2-week commitment. And, of course, a month by me, which was not a big deal. But 2 weeks you could spend at the base. Or they had trips sometimes. They would go to Germany, to Panama and California, different places for a couple of weeks. And if you were lucky and one of the chosen ones, I was fortunate enough to get to see some of these places on a 2-week basis, which was something I would have never been able to do without them. And of course, the big bonus was I got to work on airplanes, which is what I really liked to do. And then, A-10 was an amazing plane. As I said, it was a big airplane compared to being a single-seater. It was a big plane. The cockpit area was large, which is big, but, different than some single-seat airplanes. And it had the advantage of having its own power supply built in, and automatic. And it was a power unit. It was a turbine that you could start up, and it would power the airplane, so you didn't have to drag ground power equipment, trailers, and power supplies to it. And you'd sit in the cockpit, and you had an air conditioner. You could turn that on in the summer, and you had a heater. You could turn that on in the winter, and it was a mechanic's dream for that airplane. It was really amazing.
Is there any location nearby that had those old airplanes? My stepfather was one of the original designers of the infrared system back in the 60s, and a private contractor through Lockheed. But his passion was the old planes from the world, from the foreign wars that they could read, that they could fix and show in air shows and such. But is there anything like that here, like air shows?
It hasn't been for a long time. I mean, as far as air shows, we used to go to Geneseo. That's, as far as I know, the nearest military museum. And there are other ones. There's Forestport, I think is where, there's another one down there at the end of the lake, with the fellow Curtis. Glenn Curtis, and the P-40 that he built down there. That was an interesting trip to see that his outfit. And as I say, Geneseo, they had a couple of air shows. I mean, many years ago, I used to go to one, and they had B-17s and Zeros and all kinds of Corsairs and blunt Mustangs and things, which are just the sound of those engines. It just is incredible. I mean, you can't even imagine it on the videos and such. I mean, it doesn't play like it does in real life when it's actually vibrating just from all this stuff.
You're a true veteran, you are.
I like planes.
Uh-huh.
So some of the stuff that we had our 2004 here, as I was saying earlier about, we had our snowfall that collapsed everything. And this was the start of our excavation for our new building. And of course, they say we continued on through the winter time. Here they were just starting the first of 63 trusses they put up one day. And Ellis did it, volunteered his crew to do it. He brought in his equipment to do it, so that was, people were amazing. Car show that our auxiliary puts on, that they do all kinds of antiques and hot rods, and just amazing.
Where'd you get the helicopter?
That came from Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania. Oh, yeah, that is a military warehouse, storehouse. I don't have the word, I had no way of describing it. But all of the places around it you might see on display of the tank in New Haven. Field pieces, guns that are sitting on front yards of all different buildings.
Henderson, he has some, what is it? Is it a tank or an airplane up there at Henderson?
Yeah, and they usually come from this Indiantown Gap in Pennsylvania, and it's a government-run outfit. You have to maintain these displays. They give them to you, but you don't own them.
Obviously, they trailered it in. They didn't fly it. They trailered it in, or did they fly it in? Oh, they trailered it. Wouldn't it be cool if they could?
There used to be a crew chief for one of the Hueys. That's why he wanted that particular one. And it came on a flat pass, and there was quite a process to build the stand to put it on, and he's got it all lit up so it lights up at night.
It is beautiful at night. It is beautiful at night.
And we had it painted just a year or so ago. We had to have it repainted and clear coated and everything because, you know how Mexico weather is. It's not much different than Scriba weather. But anyways, these things, again, as I say, they are loaned to the organizations, but you still have to maintain them, and we have to submit photos of them every couple of years and in the details, and to make sure that they know that it's still being cared for.
And thankfully, we're not in an area that has vandalism with some of those, those relics.
Well, it's true. I don't know. I have not actually myself heard of any place that's had vandal, but I'm sure there have been cases like that. I don't know what the people that do it, and to be honest with you, but there is so much going on, and I don't want to get in started on that. Has a whole other meeting involved there. But there's just so much craziness going on today. It's hard to you can't even conceive of it all. We try to get the kids involved. This is one of the scout groups. These are old folks, by the way. These kids are probably growing up with kids of their own. Of course, and it was an invitation to our Vietnam vets spent together. So we had it all decked out with the sandbags and the camouflage stuff. And of course, been the ever-present motorcycle groups there. Those flags are unit flags from Vietnam. There's just a couple dozen of them that the different units have served in different parts of Vietnam. And this was one of our groups of the veterans that, at the end of the day, they took a group photo out by the helicopter there. It's not all the families, because there was a lot of people back under the wall barn and stuff.
The small kitchen.
Oh, literally, you had to be very friendly to walk by somebody. But they put on some nice dinners and things. We were zoned for 49 people in that room, so obviously we didn't have big functions,
Right.
And of course, now we've got 270 some odd we can have in our banquet room, and almost 80 we can have in the canteen or bar, if you want to call it that. Plus, we've got the pole barn, so we can run 2 or 3 different functions at the same time. And we have at times done that, and it's just a marvelous venue. We have another plug for if you've got anything you want to put on. We had a Eagle Scout that put up a 911 monument. If you've been over there, you see it on our southern field there. Young Fellows Project, and for his Eagle Scout badge, was putting together that 9/11 memorial, and he did a nice job on it too, really. And of course, we keep flags on it every year and make sure it's all mowed and everything taken care of.
What kind of, do you have monthly meetings and have speakers?
We have monthly meetings, more business sessions than anything. On occasion, we do have people come in that want to promote something. Usually they're looking for help. And we're all for that. You know, we don't always comply, but we're always willing to listen. A lot of the things, as I said earlier, we give to the same organizations even though we get letters. I imagine you do too. You get letters from the heart people and the cancer people and the kids, the St. Jude's people, and 2 or 3 times a month you get these letters looking for help from them, and we try to give them help once or twice a year, but we don't do it every time we get a letter from them. We found out that the more you give, the more letters you get. So instead of
Or return address proofs?
Yeah, yes, yeah. I got personally frustrated with the outfits a lot of years ago when I was quartermaster, and we had sent them a little bit more one year because we were doing a little bit better and trying to help out. And we ended up getting inundated with more letters for more help. So I was thinking to myself, extra money we gave them, just went for postage.
Yes.
And praying of more stuff, looking for money, which we went back to the old standard. You know, we try to help as many as we can. We try to do it locally whenever possible. And all of our fundraisers that we do, our Crazy Cash I mentioned, if you've ever heard of that or seen it, there's tickets available, and they have a Saturday in September that they provide entertainment and music and food and beverage all afternoon, and you can have the opportunity to win a couple $1,000s. You know, we give away like $10,000 on that afternoon. So it's a good thing. But the money that we do make on it, it goes for our scholarships. We give away several scholarships to the seniors. And then we give in the school, and then we do special ones for the ROTC kids that may or may not go to college, but still we're sponsored their organization too. And we have, other places we give money to, of course. The Operation Reindeer, if you've heard of that, that's the Christmas baskets and things that we put together for the families that need help, and we do hundreds of those.
Do a lot, it sounds like. Holy cats.
Well, they're very active, and as I said, our auxiliary is phenomenal. They are
Good. What's the ROTC like? I guess I went to Mexico high school, but it wasn't there then.
No, I didn't have that opportunity either. I wish I had, but it's an excellent organization. Basically, it's a Reserve Officer Training Corps. That's ROTC. This is a junior version. They have this regular ROTC, and when I say our senior version is college level. This is high school level. But the kids wear the uniforms, they perform the drills, they learn the handling of the weapons. They're dummy weapons, of course, they're not real. But they learn all about the service, and they learn a lot about respect, and they learn a lot about doing what they say they're going to do and what they're told to do, and it's an amazing organization. The kids, you can tell in a heartbeat they're involved with it, because they are the ones that are usually the first ones to stand up and say, I'll do it. And they'd help us with the flags for the cemeteries. We have a session on usually the Thursday before Memorial Day at our cemetery there on Academy Street in the village. That's our big cemetery. and I get the ROTC kids to come over after class, and they help with the front part of the cemetery. And then there's a bridge if you've ever been there, and then the other side of the cemetery, we had the scouts come in the evening and help put the flags there. And it's just, these kids show up with the ROTC about 2:30-ish or so after school, and there might be half a dozen or a dozen. You never know how many are going to show up. They do whatever they can do. But obviously they've got the legs and the wind, and they can cover the area far better than I ever could, to be honest with you. And they're always there to help. Anytime you need them, you just got to call them, and they'll do everything they can to send up a crew. So it's just an amazing outfit, and they get credit for that, of course, on there.
How did it start there?
It was promoted by one of the, I guess he was a retired major in the Marine Corps, Dan Aguilar, years ago. And he came to our meeting one night and said he had this plan to, I guess he must have already had it arranged with the school system where they can do it. There's a lot of schools do this. There's many schools over the New York area and in our area that have ROTC outfits, or junior ROTC outfits. But we, of course, agreed to help by supporting them in any way we could, sponsored them. And I don't know what the deals he made with the school system, but that's where it started. That was back in, had to be 15 years ago or more.
It was interesting when I did a class reunion there, to see all the stuff there. For her,
Oh, they do a great job. They park cars for us on the car show. They show up and do, of course, parades and stuff. They always have a contingent for a honor guard, to march with the flag or whatever, and our Memorial Day parade. And I guess they're going to be around for our Field Day parade coming up next. We were asked, the VFW was asked to participate in the parade. I guess we're going to ride. I can't walk it anymore, unfortunately.
Especially it must be too or especially in this heat. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's a big one. Then they start out way down by the middle school, and they hike all the way through town, and that's beyond me these days. I have all I can do to make it to my car.
Since you were a mechanic, did you have any opportunity to get the back seat and fly with them?
No, I never did. I got to taxi with one day, and that was about it, on a two-seater. My first airplane was a 101 Voodoo, they called it. It was back in the 60s when, as I've mentioned earlier, we were kind of at odds with other parts of it. And that was a two-seat airplane, and the radar operator, which I was working in the shop, the radar shop in those days, electronics, they had an issue where the thing was noisy on the scopes. You had a scope you looked at, told you what was going on. And it had interference in. Of course, when it was sitting on the ramp without moving, it was fine. Or these intermittent problems. So we had to taxi it down the runway one time, and then we could see what the problem was, and ultimately we fixed it. But
So you'd never been upside down or anything?
no, not an airplane I have.
That's a lot of fun.
I can imagine it would be. I would have liked to have been able to fly my own plane. I had desires of doing that when I was a youngster, and I built the models like most everybody else did back in the 50s, and unfortunately, I ended up when I was a youngster needing glasses, and that took away. In those days, it took away the ability to fly, especially militarily. But I was satisfied. I enjoyed working on them. I mean, it wasn't, every day wasn't a great day. There was some not so nice days. There was some cold nights and some long days and long nights. But all in all, it was very satisfying work. And I would recommend it to any youngster today. I mean, you had a job security, and you had a paycheck and a place to sleep and 3 meals a day if you showed up to eat them. And you didn't have to worry about getting fired or laid off. And that's not something you can say too many places that can do that today. So as I said, I made it a 20-year career, and I'm very thankful I did it. Actually, the benefits are amazing. The hospitalization, the benefits have saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Really?
And you just, there's no way to say it any other way, you know, and I'd be very bad shape without 'em.
And my brother shot 23 years, and some of the benefits he gets is,
Oh, yeah. I would have stayed in longer. I put in my 20, but I was under a little bit of stress in the personal life at that point, and so I got out, and I'm really kind of sorry I did, but you can't necessarily go back and do things over either. I had to do what I did at the time I did it. And those are things we had to live with, but I still appreciate the benefits that I get from it.
he was a load master, and
The car bill.
the biggest challenge that he enjoyed was he could tell the majors and the hierarchy where to go. The one part, he says, last time we had to fly with the plane. And he says the pilot would curse him out because he couldn't gain altitude enough to have him loaded wrong.
Well, those guys that fly the cargo planes is absolutely, and I give them every bit of credit. Amazing. It's what they do. It's just, unless you've actually been up close and personal to a C-5, you just have no concept of how gigantic they are. It's absolutely amazing.
When you're upside down, there's not the pull on you that people think there is.
Right.
A lot of people say, oh, you're going to fall out. Like, there's some centrifugal force or something.
Well, they held you in your feet. Yeah, you have, like you said, you have the inertia of the airplane that you're in. So it's not like you just put you upside down like on a Ferris wheel or the amusement park rides. You know, those are a little bit more severe. I got a test ride in a helicopter, Black Hawk, one time, and that was fun too. I mean, they ride with the doors open, you know, so, and you got the wind blowing your cheeks back, and it's just amazing. And these guys, of course, testing it out after it was repaired, and they went down to treetop level, and they went way up high, and they did all kinds of weird stuff with it. I was very glad to get my feet back on there.
My first experience with a helicopter was medevac from Scriba to Attendees.
Mm-hmm. I hear them on my scanner actually once in a while. They have a place up in Blasky they land, and they pick up people up there and they fly them wherever. It's amazing that they can do it. I had no idea what the cost is. It's got to be substantial, I imagine. But if you got to get someplace in a hurry, that's the way you do it.
After someone has served in the service in a Ford war, right? Is there some kind of communication with that person to say, hey, you know, check out the VFW?
Well, we advertise. I don't mean necessarily on paper all the time, but we are open. Everybody we talk to, we know. We try to get people, and there are veterans out there that do not belong to any organization by choice, or they just don't know. I don't think it's not they don't know about us, because, as I said, we're open 24/7, and not 24 hours a day, but we're open all the time. And you're visible with the parades. We're visible with our breakfasts. We're visible with our activities and the kids we support with the ball teams and everything that we do. And so it's not like people don't know about us. There's some aversion, I think, to belonging to an organization. People don't want to be roped into something. I guess maybe that's not maybe an accurate statement, but they're afraid if they get joined up, they're going to have to do more. And that isn't always the case. We've got, as I said, almost 300 members. A lot of them are out of state. They belong to us for various reasons. Either they used to live around the area and they've moved, but they still belong to us. They don't come to the meetings, they don't come to the functions, but they're still members, and they can go to local posts wherever they live. So it isn't like they can't do things. but people should know about us because we're visible. We've got I think, a beautiful facility there. And we're certainly active enough. I know the old feelings people had years ago with our old building there was probably, there's a bunch of old guys in there drinking and talking oratories. That's really not the case. And that doesn't usually happen. Most of the guys don't want to talk about their forced renaissance. Yeah, but one thing. But we have, again, a lot of activities. The auxiliary puts on parties for the kids for Christmas and Easter and Halloween, and they do stuff for the adults all the time. It's just ongoing. So it is not much of an excuse to not know about us. Right. And if anybody ever wants to, we can easily look up people, with their DD 214 and find out if they're eligible. Some are, some aren't. Just because they served doesn't mean they served in the right place. But anyway, so yeah, I would say if anybody wants to check us out, come on in. But